Welcome to Kite Reviews. My name is Gordon. Today we're talking about the Prism Flip Kite. This is a really interesting kite, and I'm sure if you have found this video, you've been Googling about it. It's a pretty interesting kite, and I want to get into some real nitty-gritty technical stuff. But first I want to talk about a little bit of my perspective on kites. Long-time subscribers to the channel will know that I tend to not like gimmicky kites. I tend to not like branded kites. I'm not the Disney princess kite flyer. My favorite Disney princess is not on my kites. These sorts of things. I'm not a big fan of that. I want kites to be themselves. I want them to embrace their kiteness. And as a result, I always kind of wrote this thing off as a bit of a gimmick. But I ended up buying one, and I'm very happy that I did, because we fly year-round here in Minnesota, which means half the year it's cold out. And it's real nice and real convenient to not spend a lot of time doing a lot of setup on your kite with your gloves off, things like that, because you're in the middle of a frozen, windy lake. And it's not very much fun to spend 45 minutes untangling some line or something like that. Instead, a kite like this, it comes fully assembled, and you just pop it out, clip your line on, or you could clip your line on in your nice warm car. You pop it out, you fly your kite, you're a happy, happy camper. So that's why I originally got into this kite. And I'm really kind of thankful that I did. We'll go into some of the negatives, but I gotta tell you, I love this kite. Just off the bat, I think it's a great kite. It's very unique in the way that it flies and the way that it performs. Anyway, we'll get into that. First off, I think on the website they say this thing flies in like 6-7 miles an hour wind. It doesn't. Don't believe them. This really is a medium to high wind kite. And by medium, I mean like double-digit mile per hour, like 10 miles an hour. Maybe you can fly it in 9, but like, be careful. But it really shines in both high wind and I'm going to say gusty wind. We get a lot of gusts around here because we don't have any coasts. And so, a lot of times we will be in this situation where it will be a medium to high wind day, but it's gusting up to 30 miles an hour or something like that. And that means it actually doesn't, kites don't love to fly in that. They either, you can break them, because those poles or something like the break, or, they go unstable in that kind of condition, right? Because they bend in different ways and all of a sudden they're crashing into the ground, stuff like that. And so some of those really gusty days actually are not good kite flying days at all. Whereas this thing loves the gusts. It just spins faster when the gust comes. It doesn't even necessarily make more lift. It doesn't fly higher. It just spins faster and makes about the same amount of lift, and it weathers gusts super well. This stabilizing disc keeps it pointed really effectively into the wind, and it just works in some conditions where you would struggle to fly other kites, or you'd be really worried about flying some of your kites, right? You don't want to fly a 9-foot delta in 18 miles an hour of wind with 25 mile an hour gusts. That thing is going to, number one, crank your arm off. It's also might crash and break, or I've just broken the center spar on kites before in conditions like that. This thing will eat those conditions for breakfast. It loves it, and it's great for it. It's definitely a medium to high wind specialist in this regard, and I love this about it. It also has some pretty interesting tendencies. It is kind of like a non-linear device, and I mean that in an engineering way. In engineering, we have a term called linearity, which describes systems where, if you give it a small input, you will get a small output, and if you give it a large input, you will get a large output. And if you give it a medium input, you'll get a medium output. And that's what linearity means. And and most kites follow linearity, right? You need a certain amount of wind before they will take off and work, and then above a certain amount of wind, they stop working, basically. Whereas this has kind of like peaky performance, depending on a couple of different things. Number one is wind speed, obviously. It generally spins faster in higher winds. However, not always. You can find situations where it doesn't actually spin that fast, and that depends on how much line you have out, and what angle it's flying at, and some other things. And so the actual output of the kite kind of goes up and down depending on a series of different conditions, unlike most single-line kites. So that makes it really interesting to fly, because, you know, usually you would describe that as an unstable kite, and maybe next week we'll get to a Prism kite that I actually kind of hate because I think it's just unstable and badly designed. So come for the Prism hate. But this one, it works, but it like works differently depending on conditions, depending on how much line you have out. If you have like a standing wave going in the line, and then you let out 3 more feet, it will kill that standing wave, and so it will vibrate differently, depending on how much line you have out, things like that. So it's really an interesting kite to fly, and will absolutely keep you entertained, you know, as a hand-flying kite. So, very cool. I really like that about it. It comes in a rainbow livery. Long-time you know, viewers of the show will know that one of my biggest complaints about Prism is that most of their stuff doesn't come in a rainbow livery. This one actually does, which is very cool. It also has very little setup time and is fully assembled. I think I went into that a little bit already. The downside of that is it comes with no packaging, which is annoying because, you know, you could, you know, tear something, or depending on if there's like a sharp hook or you know, a fishing line or something like that, a fishing, you know, grapple or whatever, could cut it. And then the other problem is it has a very long bridle, three or so feet. I got it hanging from this bar right now, but it's got a very long bridle, and like all of that is stuff that can get caught on things. You gotta untangle it, which is kind of annoying. I just kind of wish that, like my 20-foot dragon from Skydogs, which I also have a review on, so go check that out. One of my favorite kites, also in high wind. It has like a folder that this thing goes in, or that the kite goes into, and I just really wish they would have provided something like that, just to keep the lines managed, just to protect the kite a little bit more. That would be nice. The other thing that I find a little bit annoying is that you really gotta kind of set this angle. It turns out that the kite is it's very important that you get these two perpendicular. If you have them off like this, it will not work properly. And so you gotta get it pretty dang close to perpendicular or it doesn't work. And the joint that they have to do that is not particularly well, shall we call it, detented, so that it, you know, if it crashes or something like that, you gotta go and straighten it out again. And like, if you have it pulling on the ground or something like that, it probably will be crooked, and you'll have to pick it up and straighten it out again. And I just kind of wish that it had a little bit more of a positive mechanism to click in. Now these are pretty solvable / minute details, so all in all, I love this kite. I think it's very good, and it does something that other kites don't do. And I love kites that do that. You guys know this about me. I love kites that either fly in really particular conditions or do something very unique that other kites don't do. And I think this thing delivers on that. It's also a very reasonable price. I think these guys were like $35 to $37. That's really a reasonable price, I think. If I had any complaint, it's that I would love there to be a bigger size one. I would love to see a 6-foot one of these guys, instead of this kind of like 2-foot-ish. Wouldn't it be cool to have like a 6-foot one of these things and go and fly it? I think that would be rad. So I would love to see them come out with a larger size as well. And yes, I will pay the $100 it would probably cost to make one of those. That'd be a really cool kite. So, but all in all, I don't want to take anything away from it. I think this is a very cool kite. It's especially good, like I said, in high and gusty winds. It's very nice because it's easy to assemble, it's reasonably priced, it looks great in the sky, has a lovely rainbow livery. I mean, I think Prism knocked it out of the park with this one, to be honest with you, and, you know, I am a bit of a Prism fan, but I really think you should check this kite out if any of those things appeal to you. And yeah. Next week, I think we're going to have a different Prism kite that is probably not going to be a positive review. So just pumping the brakes on that one. But glad to be back, and thanks for watching. My name's Gordon for Kite Reviews.